Hey everybody, it's me, Ash, aka the One Bun, and I hope you're all doing well. Um, Thank you for joining me for this chat. If you've been here before, if you've hung out with me before, um, hey, it's nice to see you again. Welcome back. And also thank you for joining me. Let's just kind of jump right into the whole topic here, which is mental health. And in my case, there are a few different aspects of it that I want to talk about in regard to myself. For starters, I'd like to say that overall, since going on T a little over a year ago, my mental health has improved. So that's a positive thing to start on, a positive note to start on. Hold on one sec. Let me just make sure that this is a functional stream before I continue. Okay, good. Yeah, it sounds like you can hear me, so that's good. Okay. Just fix that, and okay, right. Back to the conversation. So yeah, overall, the quality of my mental health has in fact improved since being on testosterone for lots of reasons. I mean, the obvious one would be that I'm becoming more comfortable in my body, and the dysphoria is somewhat being lessened, although I still experience quite a bit of it on a daily basis thanks to external interactions, but that'll be for another video. Yeah, I mean, of course, there's also still, underlying issues with my body that I have. I mean, like no amount of testosterone is gonna, make my chest disappear or make me, grow the appropriate plumbing, if you will. I mean, it grows something that's similar to that, but it's not quite the same. And again, that's probably going to be for a different video. So yeah, like I said, because the changes that testosterone brings on physically, and even mentally, my mental health has improved. Like for instance, I was told quite a bit that I would become more, I guess, aggressive, just in general, like more temperamental, I guess. But that didn't happen. What really, I mean, there were probably some like I guess mood fluctuations toward the beginning when my body was adjusting, like in the first few weeks. But in general, I think I've actually calmed down quite a bit. I used to be very, gosh, I don't know, very emotional, very prone to crying, prone to. I mean, if you've been around my channel before, you probably remember some old streams where I just got on here and just cried. And if you've seen some old videos of mine, like the one where I talk about my mother's death, like I'm crying a lot in it. And now it's very difficult for me to cry, even when I feel like it's coming out of me. It just kind of sits there behind my eyeballs. It's kind of weird. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, I've calmed down, I think, emotionally and stuff. I mean, it's not to say that, testosterone completely suppresses your emotions or anything like that. It's just that instead of, I guess, externalizing it a lot more and expressing it more in more obviously emotional ways, you kind of experience, or at least in my experience, it's been more like I experience the emotional stuff internally more. So like I'm not crying. I don't I don't know, I don't guess, have like an emotional freak out or anything like that. Oh, hey. Yeah. So yeah, like in general, I've calmed down. I feel like I can remain more, I guess, externally or physically calm if I need to. Um, like in a stressful situation. So that's cool. That's good. You know, but in general, the mental health has been better in in those respects. However, I still struggle with some issues that I mean, they're not going to just disappear. Masking. What's masking? While you're typing that up, sorry. Let me see here. Yeah, so I do deal with some stuff still. Like, for instance, I deal with, I don't know if you've noticed what my face looks like right now. This is actually something that I don't think I've ever intentionally anyway shown on my channel. It's really something that most people only get to see, I guess, if they visit with me in person, or if they've known me, for longer periods of my life. I guess this isn't something I just like to publish a lot, because it's a very shameful or shame attached type of feeling. It's not really shameful to have this. It's just, it feels really, shameful. It's what autistic people do for short periods of time to pass as neurotypicals. Huh. Well, that's interesting. I've never heard of that. Anyway, yeah, I myself am not autistic. At least I haven't ever gotten a diagnosis of that, and I've seen lots and lots of doctors in my lifetime. But that's interesting. I've never heard of that. Let me see here. Right. So, yeah, I suffer from something called dermatillomania, and it's something that I've dealt with pretty much since the onset of puberty. Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. It's kind of the same. Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, that's really interesting. I really had never heard of that term before. I should look into it. Let me see here. Where was I? Oh yeah, dermatillomania. Right. So I've suffered with that since onset. Oh yeah, Asperger's. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've suffered with the dermatillomania like since the onset of puberty, and I think that's partly like just a typical experience, and also, like, in my case, it might have something to do with puberty being a particularly stressful time if you're trans, because your body is changing in ways that you really don't want it to. And you start to freak out because, like, that's when perceived gender roles and stuff are like really doubled down on at that point. Like, before that, it seems like, in your early childhood, it's not that hardcore. I mean, it is, they try to, I guess, if depending on your parents and stuff and the kind of culture you're brought up in and your surroundings and all that, like, you might be, from birth forced into pink outfits and stuff like that if you're assigned female at birth. But I mean, I feel like still it gets even worse. Like, at puberty, it just gets, people just force all these really gross things, gross ideas on you. Like, I remember, for instance, as an example, my family would say stuff like that I was getting childbearing hips, which was honestly like a really gross thing for me to hear. I wouldn't have even liked that, I think, if I identified as a female, because, like, Um, it just seems gross. To sexualize somebody who's still a minor and like, you know, they're just trying to go through puberty and, you know, make it through that without any, I don't know, without too much damage, I guess. Anyway, yeah, that's a good way to put really weird, messed up ideas in your kid's head, is like telling them that pretty much their purpose in life is going to be a baby machine, or, you know, yeah, anyway, ugh, gross. So yeah, dermatillomania is a skin picking disorder, basically. It's also known as excoriation disorder. It's like kind of related to OCD, but it's not exactly, it's not an OCD thing, because like treatments for OCD don't work on it, and a lot of the symptoms aren't quite the same. In my case, mine stems from body dysmorphic disorder, and I think possibly even from having overbearing parents, which is a thing I found out that can be a root cause of it, or at least a contributing factor, is having overbearing or authoritative parents. Yeah, and I don't have the commonly comorbidly existing condition of trichotillomania, which maybe you've heard of, which is where people pull out their hair. Oh yeah, 2 puberties must be hell, I can only imagine. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the having to go through puberty a second time, but, you know, better late than never, I guess. I mean, I kind of feel like this is more of just me finishing up, you know, the first puberty, like in the correct way, if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like before I was just half-baked, and I'm just finishing up here. Anyway, so yeah. I also, let me see here, wanted to mention that, let's see here. Yeah, it's an impaired stress response, in theory. In my case, meds didn't help. I've had some mixed success with cognitive behavioral therapy, but I really, you know, it's so hard for me, because I have ADHD, so hard for me to be consistent with that. I'm laughing because of the comment about being completely baked. It's funny. Let's see here. Yeah, so when I started testosterone, it did get like a little less intense. Believe it or not, my face would look far worse than this, and on a far more regular basis. Now it seems to be more of a solely a very intensely, you know, stress-induced type of response. For instance, I started to have episodes of picking again leading up to the memorial. And you can see it if you look closely in the memorial video. I have like some stuff on my face. It wasn't as bad as it is right now, but it seems to have gotten a little bit worse after the memorial. But I think I should be doing better here shortly. It's just the amount of stress that I have been under, not just because of the memorial, but like because of other things as well in life. I'm just like, whew, just trying to get through it here without, like, you know, completely ripping my face off, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna like see if I can try something else, like other forms of therapy to try to combat this, because like I feel like just like taking medication in this case, like I said, it hasn't been effective for me. So I'm gonna have to like try to dig a little deeper. And yeah, it gets way worse with increased anxiety. Anxiety triggers it. Stress triggers it. even sometimes it's weird, like just feeling things that don't feel like, feeling like imperfections or irregularities in my skin, or seeing them or perceiving them as being irregularities in my skin, like a blemish or a scab or something like that, or just feeling a weird like bump or something. It's that's triggering as well. That's part of the body dysmorphic disorder. Yeah, not smooth, right? And do I ever use fidget toys? I've actually tried some of those. I broke the I broke the first one that I got, and then I lost the second one, so that was not fun. That's probably a bad sign. That probably means that I fidget too much, huh? Anyway, so yeah. One of the things about this condition is that it tends to significantly disrupt your life. In my case, that means that, you know, I won't want to go outside because of the way that, you know, my skin looks. That's actually something that's gotten less severe too. The feeling of it making me want to hide in the house. And I think that's because, for some reason, being on testosterone, it just makes me not as self-conscious about things like that on my face. It may be partially due to how society sort of doesn't seem to, you know, I guess they don't really place too much importance on men being completely blemish-free. That, and I guess people aren't really looking at me anymore like the same way. Like, you know how people tend to pay more attention to women, or people they perceive as women. You know, especially if they perceive them as straight women, I'm guessing, or, you know, something like that, or maybe even, I guess, lesbian women could be looking too. And thinking that you're a lesbian or bi. But yeah, so it just seems like people look at you less when you're a guy, and that's totally fine with me. I'm happy being pretty invisible. I've retired several toys myself. Oh boy, yeah, that's a mood. Yeah, that's why I stopped buying them after the second one. I was like, I'm just gonna lose it because I have ADHD, or I'm just gonna like break it because I fidget too much. Yeah, let me see here. So the places I do this to myself, just for full disclosure, are mainly on my face, obviously, because that's like the worst. And oh god, usually I avoid getting this close to the camera if my face is like this, or I'll even like make sure I'm in really shitty lighting. Oops, excuse me the language. Make sure that I'm in bad lighting so that, you know, it's not as noticeable. I've even gone so far as to put makeup on, even post-testosterone and all that. However, I've kind of stopped doing that in the past few months. I just, like I said, I've been more comfortable just having my face out like this. And it doesn't seem to be as bad emotionally or mentally on me. But it certainly used to. Like I said, I used to hide in my house for like days. And if I left, I would even, you know, put on makeup or whatever. You know, this was pre-T, so I was still presenting as female and all that stuff back then. But it still looked weird and still looked gross. I even got teased for it at work when I, back when I worked for a grocery store here in Texas, and I was still presenting as female. Yeah, I had, you know, guys come up to me and tease me about how my face looked, or that I was trying to wear makeup to cover it up, and they noticed it, and, you know, they wouldn't just leave me alone about it, and it was horrible. And, you know, it's funny because, like, after you pick your face, at least for most of us that do this, it actually is a kind of a satisfying feeling, like you've just released a lot of tension or anxiety almost. And in that way, it's kind of similar to an addiction. Studies have shown anyway. But yeah, I would still feel depressed though, and you know, I would be satisfied by the momentary release of energy, I guess, and anxiety. But then, like, I would end up being depressed as well because I can't leave the house now for 4 days or 5 days or however long it's going to take for my face to heal. Oh, strangely enough, being on testosterone has made my face heal a lot faster too, or any kind of wound that I have on me. So other places that I do it, like if my face is just too messed up and I can't do it there, or if I just am trying to avoid it because I have to do something in public soon, I will pick at my shoulders or my arms or my chest or my legs. And usually it's not at healthy skin, or at least not what I perceive to be healthy skin. It's usually that I pick at like a blemish or a scab, or, like I said, just skin that doesn't happen to be smooth in one place, or like a bug bite even. You know, anything where like the skin is broken or just irregular. Yeah. So that's like one of the things that I struggle with, that I just never really I've talked about before. I mean, I've talked about how I have ADHD. I've talked about how I've had like some OCD in the past. I was a germaphobe in the past too. I'm definitely not anymore, but I was growing up. I mean, I was the type of germaphobe that would like rewash dishes a few times after my family had already washed them. I've talked about, you know, being depressed. I've talked about struggling with anxiety, and obviously the gender dysphoria and stuff like that. And I mean, I think it goes without saying that I've got some body dysmorphic disorder, at least if I'm trans, you know. So yeah, I've the anxiety, depression, ADHD, OCD, all that fun stuff. Like I said, for the most part, overall things have improved, but I still do struggle with these things, especially, you know, still the skin picking disorder. Even though it's not as bad, I still do have my bad episodes of it. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about with this is how activism has affected my mental illness and my mental health in general over time, in different parts of my activism. In the beginning, it was actually very therapeutic and very cathartic, and I felt like I was taking my voice and my power back from these people who had done so much damage to me. Over time, it had slightly less and less of that effect. It still is therapeutic on some levels, especially since I know that I'm, you know, doing what I can to try and alert people of stuff. But as time has gone on, it's also been extraordinarily stressful for so many reasons. Like, for one, just the fact that I do this online and, you know, publicly means that I have to face a lot of criticism, not only from Jehovah's Witnesses, but from people within the community, which is, you know, that's fair. People are entitled to their opinions. And, you know, we all just kind of got to do what we got to do. And that's kind of how I've been handling that as best as I can. But it does take a toll, you know. It's not like I don't have feelings. And it's also not like I don't see these things. So, I mean, you know, I just try not to give it more attention than the 5 seconds I guess it takes to read the comments, if you know what I mean. If I feel I need to address something, though, you know, that I am taking seriously, then yeah, I will address that usually. But for the most part, like the ones that are saying the abhorrent things, like that they want to see me decapitated, you know, I try not to pay too much attention to those for too long. Another aspect of this that's, you know, taken a toll on things, besides just the fact that I have to do this online, is the fact that it never really leaves you. Other activists can probably tell you the same thing, that like you don't just turn off the, you know, the activist mindset or the Jehovah's Witness stuff when the camera goes off or when you walk away from the Kingdom Hall. It stays with you, and it takes quite a bit for it to like finally stop really, you know, having a noticeable effect on you. But it still is there. It still affects you. I'm still affected. I'm still affected by even my very first crash. And yeah, I decompress, definitely. After my first crash, I remember I came back to my friend's house, and because he was the one who had taken me there. He was my getaway driver. And I just crashed at like, I think it was 7:30, not even that late, maybe 6:30, 7:30. I just crashed. I was so tired. And I hadn't, I mean, it's not like I had gotten zero sleep, and I don't know. I couldn't even eat. Like I didn't stay up long enough to eat, I don't think. Either that or I like ate a little and then just like crashed. I don't really remember. I just remember I was so exhausted, and like it took a while before I could really begin to process what had happened, and I still continued to try to push myself to do these things, you know, as frequently as I saw Zeb doing them. I just couldn't, though. Like once a week was rough. Zeb, I was like in awe that he was even able to do it once, let alone several times in a week. Or, well, I mean, he said, yeah, I remember in the beginning he was doing it like twice a week, maybe more if he could hit different Kingdom Halls in one day. And I was just like, after doing it myself, I was like, whew, I mean, like, I know I got the stomach for some stuff, but like, man, I don't think I could do that level of, you know, hitting the halls. So yeah, that's another aspect of it, is just that you never really turn it off. I mean, it's constantly on your mind, or at least it is for me. I am like constantly thinking of new ways to reach out to witnesses, or to reach out to even ex-witnesses. I'm trying to come up with ways that I can give people advice on like how to cope if they do activism, because that's something I do have some experience with. I'm not the best at coping, obviously, but I have some coping mechanisms that are healthy that I can offer. You know, like my first recommendation would be like, take long breaks between, you know, anything that you do, like protests that you do, because, you know, as much as you might feel like you're not really getting much accomplished, you're a lot more used to, you know, to the cause if you're well rested and you're in good mental health and you're able to communicate clearly your message to people. So that's just something to think about. You were flipping awesome at the memorial this year. Oh, thanks. And yeah, I did spend all my adrenaline in one swoop. Oof. You're telling me. Yeah. Yeah, so you're constantly thinking about stuff. You constantly think about stuff all day. New ways to do activism, new tactics to use when you're speaking to witnesses. You're trying to find the best way to reach certain types of witnesses in certain types of situations. Like, you get really technical with things. You get very specialized after a while, because you're just like, you just try really hard and you really want it to be effective. You want your time to be spent in a very effective manner. You want to really try to go for it. This year at the memorial, I was trying a tactic that was, I'll admit, radical and very different than anything I've done. And like I've talked about in other videos, the reason that I did it that way was primarily because I knew it was going to get some attention. and that it would be harder for them to look away. So I knew it wasn't going to be the most well received of all the things I've done activism-wise, but I accepted that before going in. In fact, I even accepted the possibility of me getting physically harmed, which did happen. Bruise is still healing, by the way. The one on my leg. The one on my arm's gone. Oh, no. Well, I mean, it's still, like, very faint, but it's pretty much gone. So, yeah. It makes it difficult to enjoy a normal life a little bit if you're constantly focused on activism, constantly thinking about the cult that you escaped from. It's just one of the ironies of the life of an ex-JW activist, is that you got your freedom, but you're spending it on the cult still. It's rough. It's a harsh reality. But for some of us, we're so haunted by this stuff that we wouldn't enjoy life anyway, you know, if we tried to stop completely doing activism. Which is one of the reasons that I don't see myself ever 100% stopping. I will always, in some way, participate in activism, even if it's not doing Kingdom Hall crashes. You just can't stop yourself from, you know, you can't stop yourself from thinking about everybody that's left behind, particularly the children that don't have a choice. That's like the hardest thing for me. That's what I think about the most, really. I don't even honestly think about my grandma that much anymore. I do feel bad for her, but I mean, she's had so much time, and I've given her so many like reasons to look into things, and she just buries her head in the sand. So, you know, at some point you just kind of have to accept certain things, right? You can't turn off. Oh, sorry. I was emotional when you were live. You can't turn off. The best you can do is turn down the volume in your head. I was a wreck for you. Do you ever really get to leave completely? I don't think so. I mean, at least not fully mentally, I guess. No, because they've always got a piece of your brain that you just can't get back, right? Like the little tiny space that they just stole from you. Thank you. You're a voice for people like me. Thank you. It's really nice of you to say. I don't feel like a voice for anybody, but I do feel like I'm just one of the many people out there that is like trying really, really hard to do something. Even if we don't always do it in the best way or execute our ideas the best, or even have our message completely heard. You know, we're trying. It's what we can do, right? Just try. Yeah, so that's one. Those are a couple of aspects, I guess, of how the activism has affected my mental health over time at different points. So yeah, I mean, that's why I've been like a little bit more sparse in what you've seen me doing activism-wise, is because, you know, it's a lot, you know. Honestly, it's a lot. So like, honestly, you really gotta respect people that go out and do this stuff. Because it's like, I mean, I'm not saying to respect me. I'm saying like, I mean, because like I said, I kind of feel like some of the stuff I do is like, I'm always regretful about not having said things correctly or as well as I could have or whatever. So I'm super critical of my own activism, but like, I have a lot of respect for everybody else that does this, because I know firsthand how it is. I know it's not easy. No matter how easy some of us make it look, it is so not easy. And I'm looking at some of you people that do it like really frequently. Yeah. Ooh, man. I get stressed even just thinking about it. Just talking about it right now, you can hear my labored breathing, and yeah. Murder our childhoods, and you're out there speaking up for us. Watchtower murder our childhoods. Yeah, they sure did. They sure did. Your own worst critic. Yeah, definitely that. Although, there have been some contenders. Like I said, the community has been kind of rough sometimes. But it's all good. I'm not here because I want to be popular. I'm here because I want to save kids. And I want to like expose, the lies. Just the lies. It always kills me when people tell me that I'm a bad person for interrupting a spiritual meeting or a religious whatever ceremony, whatever people perceive that to be. It kills me when they say that, because no, I'm not interrupting something that's sacred, something that's a peaceful religious ceremony. I'm interrupting people being brainwashed and lied to and kept slaves to an organization that protects people that sexually abuse children and kill people for their blood doctrine, which isn't even scripturally based, not in any substantial way, in a very flimsy way that they keep going back and forth on anyway. And then this is also an organization that practices the cruel method of shunning in order to control its members as well. And God, yeah, I don't feel bad about interrupting their meeting. I did in the beginning. My first crash, I mean, I was very polite with them, and I apologized to the elders for interrupting the meeting, and that I said I wish I didn't have to do it like that or something like that. I was very polite with them and apologetic. And people actually criticized me for that too, believe it or not. Like I said, I think in previous videos, that I've been criticized for being both too nice and too mean, and even too crazy. But yeah, I don't really feel so apologetic anymore after having, faced these people for so long. I say so long, it's been like 2 years. Well, other than my life, with them, talking about just the activism portion. After facing these people for so long, I don't feel like I've done anything wrong by interrupting their meeting. It's still stressful and still affects me very greatly to do so, because I'm basically going in there and risking being beaten up now because I'm perceived as male, and and it's just still stressful to be in that environment again in general. It's very unpleasant. Nobody wants. I know people that tell me that they can't even drive past a Kingdom Hall without feeling nauseated. So, yeah. How did you feel after the live memorial crash this time? My crash wasn't live this year. It wasn't last year either. Oh, well, it was on Stacy's channel. It was live last year. But I recorded mine. I have to record my crashes because, well, one, now it's mostly because of YouTube. It has rules about, I guess, you have to have a certain amount of subscribers before you can live stream anymore. So I can't do live streams anyway from my phone. But also, I guess I could do it from Facebook. Yeah, because my YouTube channel has a Facebook page. I could do that from there. But it's also, in the past, it's been because I don't get very good internet reception for whatever reason when I'm out, when I'm trying to do any kind of live stream. I don't know if you've been around any time that I've tried to do that, like while I'm out at the Alamo and I'm looking for carts. Yeah, for some reason my internet doesn't work. Stacy's internet worked kind of when she was here down by the Alamo with me, but even she was having some sketchy internet issues a little. Yeah. I couldn't get over them putting their hands on you. Yes, Stacy's was, but wondering how you felt after. Oh yeah, after this year's memorial, how did I feel afterward? Well, let me see here. Let me try to put myself back in the frame of mind where it was. Well, I felt immediately very physically exhausted for sure, and mentally exhausted. I felt sad because of a lot of the reactions that I was getting from people as I was walking out. Because I think I mentioned in other videos that I encountered, people that were late to the memorial, that were coming in. Some people weren't even dressed up, but they were going to the memorial. And, and I was telling them the stuff, about the child abuse and all that. And they were, they were laughing or like, they were just not overly concerned. And bear in mind, like, some of these things I said while I was no longer, in the costume, because I did remove the costume for a bit as I was walking down the road, because it was like getting itchy on my head. It's an itchy blue wig, and it's like kind of a cheap wig. So, but yeah. So I mean, it's not like they were laughing at me because I was dressed, ridiculous or anything. They were just laughing at me because I was telling them things, I guess, that made them uncomfortable and that they didn't want to hear. So yeah, I felt sad because of that, because of their reactions. It made me feel like I was talking to a wall, which is actually how I feel at all the other crashes, like the ones where I'm not dressed up, in a funny costume. I feel like I'm talking to a wall. And in some cases, like, people are just like doing this number too. So like, and I literally am talking to a freaking wall in that case. I was also a little bit nervous because I knew that once I put this up on the internet, that it would get some responses, and I had a good feeling that they were going to be mostly negative. At least in the comments section, I figured they would be mostly negative. People seem to mostly like the video. They just the people that decided to leave a comment were the ones that had most of the negative things to express. Let's see here. LOL, I loved it. Unsatisfied? No. I don't know if I would say I was unsatisfied. I was satisfied that I had gone there to and done what I had gone to do. I guess you could say I was sort of not fully satisfied with the way that I delivered my message, though, I guess. Because, like, I did feel like there were some things that I didn't get to say, and things that I wish I had worded differently. By the way, the Jehovah is evil thing seems to be upsetting a lot of people. I don't feel bad for that either, because Jehovah's a made-up name, so yeah, sorry, but not sorry. And Jehovah is evil. If Jehovah is cool with, what happens in his congregations, then Jehovah's evil. I'm sorry to tell you this, but he is. And that was not even a thing that I was planning on saying. That was just a thing that came out of me, because I think I just genuinely in that moment felt it to the very core of my being, that Jehovah is evil, because he was and is. Was good timing when you spoke out. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess there's no better time than any to let everybody know in the congregation that Jehovah's evil than his memorial, right, of Jesus Christ's death. It's like the Jehovah's Witness Super Bowl. Perfect timing. I'm not sure. I'm not a believer. We're good. Well, I don't think that me calling Jehovah evil should offend a believer, actually. Because if you believe in Christianity, right, you should still be fully aware that Jehovah's a made-up name. So I'm not calling God evil. I'm just calling Jehovah the made-up, demon satanic god or whatever that they have that they worship. That's what I'm calling evil. I caught them so off guard. Yeah, they were really caught off guard. Oh boy. Not just because of the outfit either. Yeah, definitely some of the stuff I said probably shocked them out of their little robotic stupor briefly. Briefly enough to be very angry at me and come and look for me online and leave angry comments. Another thing I was nervous about, by the way, just completely random, just thought I would mention it, that has nothing to do with being an ex-Jehovah's Witness. I just was nervous because I'm trans, and I was pretty sure that like half the people, and I was right, that about half the people would think I was a lady. And you know what? I'm not even going to fault them for that 100% because one, I mean, my voice is a little ambiguous, at least in my opinion. I think it's like an androgynous sounding kind of voice sometimes, because it still goes back and forth a little sometimes. But not only that, but I have videos up on my channel still of me presenting as female, and I leave those up because I think that some of them are, somewhat, or they may be somewhat helpful to people in the future if they come across them. And some of them I just leave up, like the one about my mother's death, I leave that up just... That's for me. I leave that up for me and for her, to honor her memory. And because nothing, not even the fact that I looked like a woman in that video, is going to make me ashamed of what I said in that video. So I'm never taking that down. So yeah, I expected people to call me a lady or a woman or whatever. And that's pretty dysphoria inducing, but honestly, I guess it's not worse. It's not the worst thing about the comment section, because like I said, there are literally some people wishing death on me in there. And yeah, but it still sucks though. I really don't like it, but it's fine. Eventually, hopefully, I'll pass a little better, and people will feel weird calling me a woman if they do that. Let me see here. You caught them so off guard. They usually wait till after prayer to speak up. But not this time. A real domino effect, though. Yeah, I don't think I've ever waited till after the prayer. Well, at the memorial, yeah. At the memorial, I waited until I literally got the hand to start talking. Yeah, I ate the bread first. I had to sit through all that talk, all the way up until I literally got the wine in my hand. That's how much I had to sit through. And I did not have the spoons to be sitting through that much of the memorial this year. I wasn't here for that. So yeah. Besides, I figured that the longer I stayed in there, the more likely it was I was going to get thrown out before I could say anything. So, I erred on the side of caution and got my butt in and out of there as quickly as possible. Anyway, that's pretty much most of what I wanted to discuss. And so if you notice that I'm not on here frequently talking about activism or XJW stuff, it's not because I've quit activism. It's not because I'm not doing activism. It's just because I probably need a little mental break from that. I mean, there are crashes that I've done that I haven't even posted because I'm just like, I don't have the mental energy to deal with some of the people that leave comments on my videos. Or that I don't have the mental energy to even look at the video to edit it to put it up, because sometimes even just editing the thing is stressful because I have to relive talking to those people. So right now, at least for the time being going forward, I'm probably just going to be, talking about whatever I feel like talking about on this channel, or showing you guys, different stuff that isn't necessarily XJW related. And I hope that it will be as refreshing to you as it is to me, because I think we all get a little burnt out by thinking about this stuff too much. And I know some of us are healing, and it is part of your therapy to look at this kind of stuff and be validated by it. But it's also good to have a break from it too, and just live your life. And that's kind of what I want to focus on. And I also want to try to focus a little bit more on my mental health and taking care of myself so that I can be a better activist too, a more effective one. And hopefully I'll come up with ideas that that are a little bit more effective, but also get attention. Yeah. So that's pretty much it, I think. I'm sorry that this was a lot longer than I intended it to be. I went off on a few tangents, but like about the memorial and stuff, but it was kind of related mental health wise. Yeah. Yep. I think that's it. I hope everybody's feeling great, and if you're not, I hope you do soon, and I hope that you can find some support or some help, or even just talk to, like, a friend. Like, hit him up in the middle of the night. If you're one of my friends, hit me up. And if you're not technically a friend of mine, I guess, but you've watched me for a while or whatever, you can hit me up too. I have a Facebook page, for my YouTube channel, and it says that I don't reply to messages that much, but that's not necessarily true. I am just a little more selective about what I reply to these days because, like I said, mental health reasons. But yeah, feel free to, hit me up, and maybe we can talk. Maybe we can relate on some level about some stuff, and who knows, maybe we can help each other out, and you can give me some advice or teach me something I didn't know. Like, I didn't know about the masking thing, which I'm definitely going to look into. That was interesting. So yeah, I appreciate if you happen to sit here and listen through this whole thing. It means a lot. I just wanted to share these things, and I hope that it helps somebody, and if it doesn't necessarily help you, I hope it was at least, kind of interesting to listen to. And if not that, well, I'm sorry I wasted your time. I'm sorry. But I'm going to get my insomniac behind. That's another thing I suffer from, insomnia. I'm going to get my insomniac behind to bed now. I'm going to try to get myself to bed anyway. Because I got a full day tomorrow. Woo. All right, folks. Please take care of yourselves and each other. Be well.